Hello everyone, my name is Andreas Vlachos and I'm pleased to give this talk based on joint work with Christine de Kock and Gyori Karadzov, PhD students at the University of Cambridge, and Tom Stafford from the University of Sheffield. I'm sure all attendees of TTO are familiar with fact-checking. The number of active fact-checking websites is on the rise as the modern media ecosystem has both information and misinformation spread more rapidly than ever before. However, the amount of time needed to conduct a fact-check remains rather long given how fast the claim travels today. For this reason, there have been many community efforts on automated fact-checking, and you can see some on this slide. And I've been involved in a few of them, either as a participant or as an organizer. And like to think that they've brought together hundreds of researchers trying to figure out what works best. And therefore, I think there has been a lot of progress made since the first fact-checking shared task took place back in 2016. Even though the use of automated methods in fact-checking remains limited due to their known shortcomings, it's important to also question the impact of what we're trying to develop. First, the question, does fact-checking work? Which becomes more important in case our efforts at automating it actually bear fruits. For this, research by Brendan Nyhan and colleagues has found that fact checks often don't change voting intention. And I was discussing it with Tom, and he pointed out that trust is an important factor in communication. In fact, in last year's TTO, he gave a talk where he explained that we tend to believe people that we think share the same values with us. And he gave the example that even though scientists are considered very trustworthy in a range of topics, this is not the case when it comes to Brexit, as far as Brexit supporters are concerned. Today, a lot of conversations are happening in social media. And interestingly, they have been shown to both help expose us to information outside our bubble, but also increase polarization. That is, our beliefs are reinforced despite seeing contradictory evidence, which when it comes to our fight against misinformation, suggests that not any conversation is beneficial. Two questions then emerged in my mind. What makes conversations constructive and engaging, and how can we intervene in a scalable manner to make them happen? Before we look at the conversations, let's look at human reasoning. I suppose many of you are familiar with Kahneman's book, Think Fast and Slow, in which he argues for the dual system theory. There's the fast system that is prone to biases, like recency bias, confirmation bias, and often leads us to incorrect answers. And the slow one that helps us overcome these biases, but we use it rarely as it requires more effort. One of the reasoning tasks in the book is the equation card selection task, which is a well-studied logic problem in psychology. Here is the definition, and feel free to think about the answer, but be warned, numerous studies over the decades have found that the success rate of individuals is between 10 and 20%. And I was mentioning that to Tom, and he said, yes, it has also been studied with small groups, say 4 to 5 persons trying to solve it. And do you know what the success rate was? 80%. And he introduced me to the work of Mercier and Sperber, who proposed a theory for why reasoning works better in groups. Namely, reasoning has evolved in the context of communication, not in isolation. We make arguments in order to help us justify ourselves and convince each other. We are also bad judges of our own arguments, but good when it comes to other people's arguments. Could argue that that's why scientific peer review works, even though many of us in the room will have stories to suggesting otherwise. And at this point, Georgi joined our effort, and we decided to investigate how we can help groups work better. And he found that there has been literature suggesting that a small group communicating with each other can be better than a large group aggregated with, say, wisdom of crowd. And also that the choice of words used in this communication is an important factor when it comes to problem-solving success in education settings. And we're now working on developing what we call deliberation-enhancing bots, daily bots. These are like chatbots. They help users accomplish a task. They help the users solve a problem. But unlike task-oriented chatbots, like restaurant-looking ones, they do not know the right answer, or even if they do, they don't give it to them. What the point is that they're trying to help the group reach the right answer on its own. Now, while carefully designed experimental setups with paid volunteers can help study phenomena in depth, it's equally important to look at naturally occurring conversations to understand what makes conversations engaging. Um, Wikipedia, in my mind, is the most successful example of such an online conversation. I can't think of any online social platform that I would cite in a paper that I write. Nevertheless, when its founder tried to replicate it for fact-checking, it was not successful. I assume that very few of you know of Wikitribune, and even fewer have actually engaged with it. Hence, Christine joined us, and we decided to study what makes arguing in Wikipedia work. And in order to get some answers to this, we have been looking at how disputes are resolved in Wikipedia. In the English Wikipedia, disputes are marked and then discussed on dedicated talk pages. When the conversation works, the dispute is resolved there, and that's successful, we assume. When it fails, the dispute is escalated to a mediation by a volunteer. And this is not desirable because volunteering mediators are in much shorter supply than disputes, and volunteers to argue on the other side of these disputes. Some factors we are exploring are politeness, toxicity, sentiment, hedging uncertainty, and how these are expressed in language. Finally, on how to intervene. When Wikipedia emerged, there was no Facebook or Twitter. Google had just started, mobile phones were a niche product. And therefore, it's unlikely that we'd be able to intervene successfully by establishing a new platform. We need to actually go to where our audiences are already engaged in the conversation. There has been some evidence that this can work. For example, Gavin Munger demonstrated that a single rule-based bot can change the behavior of Twitter users and reduce racist hate speech. And reaching the main argument in this talk is fact-checking as a conversation, because the data context and automated agents can help us infer the moral values of our audience, so we don't offend it when we engage with it, promote active open-minded thinking, which correlates with socially responsible behavior, and also do this fast, because we know that speed is important in containing misinformation. So fact-checking bots, yes, if you want to call them this way. Of course, there are important ethical concerns, but they're already everywhere. Think of Alexa, Siri, and so on. Therefore, we have to embrace them, I believe. Recent research has shown that voluntary fact checks by individuals are as effective as fact checks that are shown to them, suggesting that encouraging this fact checking behavior is as effective as doing the fact check itself. And of course, I would say that fully automated fact checking agents are unlikely given the limitations in the research on both topics. And this would actually mean that we will move away from the publish and pray to the publish and act framework for fact-checking, which has been advocated by the manifesto published by Full Fact. Finally, this future might already be here. In fact, between the time this talk proposal was submitted and today, the International Fact-Checking Network has released FactChat, a WhatsApp bot in English and Spanish that engages the users in fact-checking. Finally, thanks to the funding agencies, and time for your questions to start the conversation and fact-check my talk.